Oh, thank you for tuning in to the Michigan Infrastructure Office Technical Assistance Center's instructional video on how to apply for technical assistance help with the Port Infrastructure Development Program of the U.S. Department of Transportation. I'm Chris Brady. I'm the director of the Technical Assistance Center within the Michigan Infrastructure Office, and we're going to cover what is the Port Infrastructure Development Program and how to apply for assistance through the TAG in order to make application for the PIDP. Before I launch in, I do need to cover a few considerations. It needs to be said that the NOFO's guidance and application preparation have changed from last year. So PIDP is not a new program, but there have been some significant changes, as there have been to many of the federal NOFOs being released. And the changes that we have seen are things like the program names. They've reissued NOFOs with changes to language within the NOFO. They've changed merit criteria and in some cases application requirements, such as references to climate change and sustainability being de-emphasized, environmental justice being de-emphasized, equity also de-emphasized, but have been placing more emphasis and merit criteria on workforce development within projects. So it's important to note those types of changes, as well as updates to the process for application. In some cases, total funding amounts available have been changed, as well as minimum and maximum award sizes available and deadlines. For the PIDP, which is, again, this webinar is about, the deadline has changed because the NOFO was released later in the year than was happening prior. They've also, in some cases, changed definitions. For instance, they're defining historically disadvantaged communities now using the same statutory definition as was used before for areas of persistent poverty. There's also some new language on applicant compliance with federal laws, regulations, executive orders, policies, guidelines, and requirements. And these are including cooperating with and not impeding U.S. immigration and customs enforcement and other federal offices and components of the Department of Homeland Security in the enforcement of federal law. So that's often coming through in grant agreements and contracts, include terms around compliance with those things in Section 3C4 of the executive order ending illegal discrimination and restoring merit-based opportunity. So it's important to read the PIDP Notice of Funding Opportunity, aka NOFO, from front to back. If you are considering applying for it this year, we encourage applications, but it's important to know the differences or changes to the program that have occurred. Okay, what are we going to cover today? We're going to talk about what is the Technical Assistance Center within the Michigan Infrastructure Office, a quick intro on that, and then we will talk about the opportunity for applying for the U.S. DOT's Port Infrastructure Development Program, PIDP, and how you can apply for technical assistance to make that application through the TAC. And then we'll go over the summary fact sheet and just kind of hit some quick hits from the NOFO for your convenience. All right, what is the MIO TAC mission and principles? We were created to help Michigan communities secure the maximum amount of federal funding as possible and successfully execute essential infrastructure projects by providing capacity building technical assistance, project planning, and potentially matching funds when required. We strive to be a partner with you and work closely with our communities to understand their priorities and achieve their goals by providing a wide variety of support tailored to the community's needs. and ensuring that our state resources are applied for maximum benefit. In order to do that, we will identify and prioritize the most impactful opportunities that align with state priorities to provide technical assistance and potential match commitment to. And that includes supporting equitable access for underserved and geographically diverse communities. We do all this in hopes of providing a model for how the state can promote investment in infrastructure, and will continue to encourage sustainable infrastructure investment while building local capacity. Okay, who is on the MyoTAC team? Who provides this technical assistance? Well, we bring a diverse set of skills, expertise, and resources through our team of consultants, as well as the MIO staff. As you can see, included on the team working with the TAC are several consultants who are providing the direct technical assistance to the communities. TAC has a master contract with McKinsey & Company. This slide illustrates the depth and breadth of experience that McKinsey and its subcontracted providers possess. I'm not going to read it all the way through, but this presentation is available on our website if you'd like to reference back to the details. Suffice to say, this is our team of consultants, and they have combined probably 100 years of experience writing federal grants, and they've won over 500 contracts and billions of dollars worth of federal funding for communities across the country. So that's our team. Now I'd like to go over the technical assistance offering for the PIDP. As a reminder, the application for technical assistance, if you would like to request help writing the PIDP application, we are opening the opportunity up today, and it will close August 12th at midnight. So a short window to request technical assistance, but that is because the application itself for PIDP is due in early September, and we want to give our consultants and our communities as much time together to put together a quality application. So for PIDP applicants, we're offering 3 key services to support you through the grant application cycle. The first one is a readiness analysis. So we will, if you submit a project into our application portal, we will review it for readiness and competitiveness for the PIDP program and the NOFO that is released this year. If it's determined that it looks like it'll be competitive, that everything's sort of lined up, and then we will move it to the grant writing stage, where we will prepare, the community and the consultants will prepare a plan to meet regularly and do grant writing. And that'll include writing the narrative, doing the benefit cost analysis as needed, depending on which PIDP tranche you would be applying for, and managing the application process. And then potentially, if there is a need for filling a gap of local match requirement, the non-federal share, we will negotiate a reasonable request for match commitment from Michigan Infrastructure Office and settle on that and provide a commitment letter to go in with the application. We'll talk more about that in a minute. Who are eligible applicants to request our technical assistance for the PIDP application support? Right here, local governments, federally recognized tribal nations within Michigan, rural public transit and urban public transit with support from either MDOT or their affiliated municipal planning organization. And any of these can also serve as a lead entity in a partnership with a private entity or group of private entities that co-own the port. So these applicants are, as they are eligible to apply for technical assistance, it is because those are the eligible applicants for the federal PIDP program. So we would need, if it's a privately owned port, it must be applying for the federal dollars with one of these public entities. It's important to note that any eligible non-governmental organization applying must demonstrate support of their local unit of government. This is with the goal of promoting local coordination with relevant parties. Municipal planning organizations and/or regional planning agencies are responsible for prioritizing and selecting the projects from their member communities to submit to the Technical Assistance Center. So they will, if you are applying for technical assistance, you will at the same time be requesting a support letter from your MPO or RPA to support your project receiving technical assistance, which you'll submit with your technical assistance application. They are familiar with this process, so it shouldn't be difficult. But if you have any questions about that, you can always email myself. All my contact information will be at the end of the presentation. Applicants must demonstrate access rights and approvals of local site ownership when applicable. And of course, if there is a public-private partnership, then that partnership would demonstrate those access rights. All right, how do we get technical assistance from the Technical Assistance Center? You would need to fill out our TAC application in the online portal. And how that works is typically we open a window to apply. And again, this window is open August 1st, today, through the 12th, a very short time frame. But again, I explained that the applications are due to the federal USDOT September 10th. So we are rushing the turnaround time here to get folks in. And then you will fill out an application for grant writing and potentially match funding support within the portal. And we'll go over that in a moment. And okay, so this is the flow of how grant writing and match funding support application process looks. Sort of a high-level overview. We open a window for application, and the eligible applicant submits an application in the portal during the window period. Then we will review the applications and select a group of applicants to move on to the pre-selection stage. And I will say that because we are in a quick turnaround time, we will be not waiting until the close of the window to review all applications at the same time. As they come in, we will do our best to review them, score them, and then move them forward or give a determination. So we're going to be as nimble as possible with this process because of the short turnaround time. So then once we've moved an application onto the pre-selection stage, the consultants may go back and forth with some emails requesting additional information, but at that point they will do the secondary review regarding readiness and competitiveness for the federal PID program. And so additional questions may be asked at this point, typically through email. Sometimes there's a meeting set up, but it's important to be as responsive as possible to emails and as timely and as quick as possible responding so that we can make a final determination. So if once all information is in, we determine that the application in the project is not ready for the grant writing assistance, in other words, it does not look like it would be competitive from our perspective, then we will give all that feedback to the applicant. They'll understand why, and we'll also provide coaching on the project, including potentially identifying other grants that might be more appropriate, or identifying ways to beef up the grant and beef up the project application in order to be competitive for the next round. And then once that's done, you would be encouraged to request grant writing assistance within a subsequent window for the project. So, but if your application at the point of application does look competitive, we will then quickly assign you to a consultant, and they will reach out almost immediately and start to schedule a kickoff meeting and then a regular cadence of meetings to meet with the community in order to gather your data and information and be able to work with you and alongside you as the application is developed. They'll create that scope of work and confirm services at the time of the kickoff meeting. So then the support for grant writing is provided. And at the same time, if a match is requested, while we will also request what we call a match gap worksheet to be completed, which will outline for us what your non-federal share is required, how much, and then what is it that you have already gotten committed locally to meet that, and then what is the gap of funding that you need. We'll look at if the gap is something that Michigan Infrastructure Office can fill with a commitment, and if it is not, we'll negotiate back and forth. We may point you in the direction of other potential match if there is something available. And negotiate that match commitment as you're writing the application. Then a letter of commitment for match is given to you to submit with the application, and the application goes in. If you are awarded, then the match grant agreement is issued. If you are not awarded the PIDP, the match commitment becomes voided, and the funds go back into the match pot that we have to commit to other potential projects. That's the general flow of how the process works. It's important to note again that if you apply, you'll be notified preliminarily that you're selected for grant writing or match funding. And then following that initial selection, a consultant will be assigned that will conduct a readiness assessment of your grant and information to ensure the project is sufficiently scoped and competitive, and it's ready for grant writing or match funding commitment. And if it is determined not ready to apply for the current grant, the PIDP, you may be offered alternative technical assistance options. But this is important to note as you're filling out your application, because it indicates that one of the ways we score applications for technical assistance is by looking at readiness. So providing us, and we'll talk about this in a minute, also we talk about tips and tricks, providing us with as much information as you have on the project is good, as well as the processes that you go through. For instance, public input or preliminary engineering or design or a master plan that includes the project, or commitment letters from other funding sources, or a partnership agreement if it's a partnership. These kinds of things can all be uploaded to the application, and it gives us a more robust look, a more well-rounded look at your project and where it is right now. It helps us determine if it will be competitive. So those are some things to think about. Okay, again, the window to apply for technical assistance is open today through August 12th. And before filling out the application, we really strongly encourage you to read the entire PIDP Notice of Funding of Opportunity because of the changes that have happened, but also because it will tell you what are the federal merit criteria, what are the goals that the federal U.S. Department of Transportation has for the funding for the PIDP this year. And then we will read your project goals and, we'll see if they align. So as you're thinking about explaining your project to us, you probably want to know and be explaining how it meets the federal goals. So that is a strong tip we would encourage you to look into. So applications will be submitted through the WiseHive application portal. Yep, the name is WiseHive. I think of it like very smart bees working really hard. That's an online user-friendly application portal that we've been working with now for a couple of years. And it's pretty user-friendly, like I say. It does require, though, creating a profile. But you can use your profile for multiple applications. So if you have applied for technical assistance in the past, we ask you to please go in and through your existing profile and then just add another technical assistance application under it. If you've had staff turnover or someone else is filling out the technical assistance application on behalf of your municipality this time, we would ask that you use that profile, existing profile anyway, if you can still access it. If for some reason the person's gone and you don't have passwords or whatever, it's okay. We'll work through that, but it works best when all of your applications are kind of put under one profile for your community. It works best for us, but it also works best for you because there is then a dashboard there where you can see all of the activity that you've applied for through the Technical Assistance Center and its status. So we encourage that. Okay. Additionally, as far as user-friendly goes, you are able to save your application draft anywhere you're at in it and then close it out, leave the portal, and come back to it later, and it's all there. This is not one of the online portals where you have to like cut and paste and get everything in one sitting and then submit it, and then you go to bed that night and wake up and think, oh my God, I didn't attach that thing. But it's too late because, I only had the one shot. You can edit and change and upload new documents all the way up through midnight of August 12th. You can even submit your application and then pull it back before midnight on August 12th, pull it back down and edit it. And, so if you remember something or a document comes in, a letter of support comes in and you want to upload it, at the last minute, you can still do that. So it's a very user-friendly. But when you are finished with the application, you will need to use the Mark Complete button. This is a little bit tricky. That's why we call this out in the presentation. You mark it complete, and you would think that would be the end. But in actuality, then you're taken to another screen or a new page with the final submit button. And please make sure to hit the submit button to submit the application. You will see a green complete when the submission is successful, and then you'll know that it's been submitted and we're being notified that there is a submitted application in the system. Can't tell you, there's been many, many communities that have marked it complete but not submitted it and wondered why we didn't consider their application, and it was because it was actually never completely submitted. So please be careful on that. We will try to look in the system and see who's in progress after the deadline, but we still want to be able to make sure you submit your application and make it easy on everybody. Okay. So here's the key dates. The window's open today, and then it will close at midnight on August 12th. And then following that, within a few days, we will preliminarily choose the preliminary applicants and notify them. So that will be when the applicants that are scored move forward to the readiness analysis. And that's when the TA technical assistance commences with the consultants. The consultants are assigned to do the competitiveness analysis, and they may be reaching back and forth to you. And again, then once it's decided competitiveness for PIDP, then you'll move to the grant writing, and that's all done really rather quickly. So we do ask for your availability and that you determine and select staff that will be available to the consultants and can respond to their requests. If you have any questions about the timeline, please reach out. I know it's a tight turnaround. Okay, so we're going to do this application, but what's important to you? Here are our scoring criteria. We'll be looking for project quality. Is there a clear and compelling vision for the project? Is it innovative and collaborative? Is the need for the project clear? Again, this is a port infrastructure development project. So, is there a clear, and it's also the port PIDP is for a port that serves the movement of goods. So we're going to want to see things like this is important for commerce and why, explaining and providing any economic data that you have, or any data that you have that demonstrates a loss of economic gain, I guess, that this port would, repairing or adding to or adding a port would actually improve the economy of your local community. Those are the kinds of things that we're going to want to know for the vision for your project. I can tell you there have been communities in the past that have said things like, port address is such, and we will be repairing it. Not compelling, doesn't give our readers, and we have a scoring committee, doesn't give them much to go on as far as why is this project important. So might not score as well without some compelling narrative around the project quality. Then you're going to want to demonstrate how the project aligns with the federal grant opportunity. Again, I said earlier to read that notice of funding opportunity through USDOT, and we will assess how your project fits with the requirements and goals that they have laid out, as well as the projects are the requirements or the goals for the state. So the state has priorities, and they are listed within the grant application, so they won't be a mystery to you. But you will select all of the state priorities that you believe and can defend that your project helps us meet. I will say that selecting as many as is reasonable and truthful is recommended. I have seen many applications that only select 1 or 2 state priorities. And then when I'm reading the application and the project description, I'm able to say, well, wait a minute, this also meets this state priority and that state priority. The more you can spell out and select from the drop-down list there in the application, the state priorities, and explain how, the better, because the state has not dropped its priorities for infrastructure. And so you will see those in there, and we would like those to be met for the receipt of technical assistance. Additionally, your need for technical assistance need to be well demonstrated. Why do you need? Do you have capacity issues? Do you have staffing? Why do you need technical assistance for writing applications, and potentially for a match? And then project readiness we've talked about, and match request. Is the match request reasonable? Have you secured a portion of the match locally? So I don't think in any circumstances have we 100% funded a local match requirement. We need to see that the locals are dedicating something to the project, or the partners within the partnership is dedicating something to the project. So that's a really strong application will demonstrate just a gap amount to fill for match, not a request for the entire match. And then we do award bonus points for rural and disadvantaged community benefit and geographic spread. So if there are any applications coming in from geographic regions of our state that the Technical Assistance Center has not served yet, we give a little bonus points for that, as well as disadvantaged community benefit, equity benefits, and rural community benefit. Okay, so let's get to talking about the Port Infrastructure Development Program. The application for this federal program is due September 10th. They have $500 million available, and at least 25% of that money is available, is set aside for small ports and projects. So this gives I think we have over 30 ports in Michigan with our Great Lakes shoreline is so extensive as it is. And again, these are ports for commercial goods movement, but it gives our smaller community ports an opportunity to apply with a bit of set aside. So that's really exciting this year. These are the federal goals and merit criteria in a bullet point. Again, we encourage you to read that NOFO, and really for each bullet point, you're going to want to explain how your project helps the federal government reach those goals. So for us, if you have a sentence to put, with each one of these goals and merits, that'll be really helpful in your program description. And then our grant writers will help you flesh that out, right? They will help figure out the data and the stuff that you in the narrative that you need to put to it around your project. But for us, a way to show narrative to demonstrate that you're achieving one or many of these goals and merits would be really helpful. And again, I can't stress enough, we have had in the past ports request assistance, but they were ports for mainly transporting passengers. Think Mackinac Island, think, think that's a good example. Mackinac Island. Those ports are for ferrying folks. Now, again, goods are moved back and forth off the island for the use of the folks on the island, but they're not commerce ports, right? They're just basically to supply folks on the island. So these are ports that are moving goods into, out of, around, or within a port. Here's the program details. Again, there's a 20% match funding requirement, a non-federal share of 20%. Some of the activities that you can do at the ports could be direct pay eligible. Things like if you are installing solar panels for charging vehicles at the port, or for lighting, solar installations, that kind of wind energy, that kind of stuff could be eligible for direct pay. And we encourage you to do these clean energy transformations, include it in your port improvements so that you can take advantage of the direct pay federal rebate. So that's something we encourage. But the eligible grant uses are loading and unloading of goods at the port, such as for maritime terminal equipment, think cranes and those kinds of things. The movement of goods into, out of, around, or within, such as the highway leading up to the port, or the rail infrastructure, or intermodal facilities, the freight intelligent transportation systems, or the digital infrastructure systems, all the things that can move things into and out of the port as things are unloaded or loaded, and help or organize and make that flow, like the digital infrastructure systems. Operational improvements, including projects to improve port resilience. So, help the port be resilient from flooding or any other type of natural disaster. And then things that mitigate environmental impact and emissions type measures are also eligible, and we strongly encourage that for you to look into funding that, and the way that direct pay may be able to fund part of the project as well. So award amounts are minimum of $1 million and maximum of 125 million. And again, 25% is reserved for small projects at small ports. In the past, there have been 31, in 2004, 31 awards made for 580 million. And one of those was in Michigan. Okay, high level requirements, eligible entities, again, on the left there, states, subdivisions of a state. So these are all public entities, but they can be in partnership with a private entity or a group of private entities. Key grant application components that you'll need to pull together, project description and statement of work, the location information and mapping and all of that, budget and funding information, and then a narrative of how it meets selection criteria and Department of Transportation goals. There is a 30-page narrative limit, so having technical assistance, even though that seems like a lot, is not a lot when you have to put all this stuff in there. So having technical assistant help to determine the most important information and to organize and make it an efficient application can really help. Large projects will require a benefit cost analysis, and you can apply for assistance with a benefit cost analysis as well within the technical assistance application. These are past winners in Michigan for the PIDP. We saw the Drummond Dolomite Ship Loader and Seawall Improvements Project. That was the 2024 project that won $10.2 million. In 22, there were 2 projects. Lake Erie Renewable Energy Resilience Project got 11.1 million, and the Rail Access and Port Capacity Improvements Project out of the Port of Detroit got 16 million. So we have had some winners in Michigan, and these are your peers. So if you're considering writing an application and you'd like to reach out to one of your peers, we suggest these folks that had winning applications. Maybe they will share some of their stories with you and give you some tips and tricks. Okay, this is my contact information, and that QR code takes you to the Myotech website. On the website, you should have received an email with all the links, but if you misplaced it and you're watching this video, this QR code will take you to our website, and on the website, you will see the announcement of the technical assistance window for the PIDP application, and that will have the links to the application portal. And from there, it also has links to the information pack, which is the summary pack, and links to the federal notice. So I encourage you to check out our website, and as well as checking out all the other resources that we have there for you. And we hope that we see your application come in, because this is a pretty exciting opportunity for Michigan ports. Thank you for watching the video. And with that, again, I'll remind you, if you have any questions, that's my email, bradyk4@michigan.gov. Feel free to reach out to me with any follow-up questions that you might have. Thank you for your attention today. Have a great day.